Good evening.
For the past few years, every HR conversation has, sounded like, we need to adopt AI, and the conversation has increased a lot in the last 2 years. But today we are going to be asking the inevitable truth: what will break first in your hiring if you're doing it without AI, and what happens if you don't? Because as we all know, hiring does not collapse overnight. It breaks slowly through delayed decisions, candidates who quietly drop off, or they don't join at the joining date, recruiters burning out, and business opportunities quietly disappearing. So today isn't a conversation about technology, it's a conversation about readiness. For those of you who aren't familiar with Zappy Hire, we are an AI powered recruitment automation platform designed for recruitment teams in large organizations to screen, evaluate, and hire top talent with ease. I am Sai Vaidya. I am going to be the moderator for today. And while I go to the panel introductions, let's take a quick pulse check of the attendees so far. And what's your biggest hiring concern going into 2026? I will open a poll. Uh, Please start responding, and I'll introduce the panel in the meanwhile. So, before introducing the panel, I just want to let you know that I'm not going through long bios of them because they have done great work so far with lots of experience. So they have longer bios. But today we are going through the uniqueness each one of brings to this conversation. I'll start with Arvind Warrior, sir. He leads people and culture at Volvo India. What makes Arvind perspective so valuable today is that he operates at what I will call the reality layer of hiring, where strategy hits operational complexity heads on. He's led people transformation inside large matrix organization where hiring speed, alignment, and business delivery all have to coexist at once. He's not here to tell us what should work, but he's going to tell us what actually works, and more importantly, what quietly breaks inside enterprise hiring systems. Welcome, Arvind, sir.
Thank you very much. Humble
Uh,
and honored.
yeah. Then we have Anusri Madhugiri. She works at the intersection of leadership strategy and enterprise in transformation as general manager, leadership advisory at Reliance Group. With nearly 2 decades in executive research, search and strategic leadership hiring, including time within the chairman's office at RIL, Anushri has front row view into how leadership expectations around talent are shifting. Her cross-sector exposure across various fields like infrastructure, energy, mobility, telecom, and retail gives us a rare vantage point on where hiring models are holding firm across industries and where they are quietly become obsolete. Welcome, Anushri. Excited to have you on board today.
Thank you, everyone. Look forward to the session. Thank you.
Uh, then we have Deepu, who is co-founder of Zappy Hire, and he brings over 2 decades in enterprise technology, product innovation, and AI platform development. Deepu doesn't work with organization running pilots. He works with organization implementing AI at scale in real hiring environments. And his focus on algorithmic transparency and responsibility gives him a distinct lens on where AI genuinely creates value and where organization risk getting it wrong. So welcome, Deepu.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Got it. So I also have the results from the poll. 55% concern, 50% of people over here concerns is quality of hires. So I think that would add value to the discussion today. Let's go to our first topic and where it matters most. What's already cracking? So Arvind sir, you work inside a large complex organization every day. When you look at your hiring operations, where do you see the system already under strain? What feels closest to a breaking point?
Okay. Very good question. I'll not. I'll try my best to avoid all kind of gyan around this, but then I'll also try to tell you, if you were to ask me the major problems or major issues which is getting things complexes from me, at least I can think of something called DMAT. Okay, one is basically the data and the feedback loops which normally happens because you say so much of AI or even without AI, the most precise thing or the most important thing which I see as an derailing factor is our data and the quality of data by which we handle it. Let it be an AI system or an Excel, the data consistency is not there. That is something which I feel is a number one. Number two is basically, instead of having this so-called high-end ATS tools, also what we see is application overload. It's not application 2 or 3, it's an overload in terms of the things which come up. That is from the application side. And now the most important thing is, even when you have the ATS and best of the best tools available, what I see is still the manual interventions, because I think the workflows is something which is, again, you say it is becoming more complex, or even you try to reduce the complexity, it's still the manual things which is inhibiting the whole this one. And at the end, the most important thing is we still see the best of the talent is not getting into our niche areas also, because if you look at some of the areas which is very niche and complex, you're not able to hire talent there. So I would put this as a data. Second is in terms of manual process, again in terms of application overload, and the most important is talent crunch in the very specific area. So that's why I thought I'll just put it like a DMAT kind of issue, which is complex across any organizations, irrespective of any kind of industry. This is something which I wanted to inform you. Thank you.
Got it. I think the other day we were having a discussion with Anushri, and she also mentioned that the manual processes can't be eliminated however AI comes. And at the leadership level of the CXOs, there is a gap where AI is not there or can't be there so soon. I would like a follow-up question. So,
Just a small add-on. I'm sorry again. I mean, we need to understand that's why it is called co-pilot. That's why it is called augmented intelligence. It is not artificial intelligence. It's called augmented intelligence. So the human intelligence comes into picture, where the process flows, how much you cut it. You need to understand whether it's required or not. It's not the system should tell you that. And that's when. And most important thing is across managers and the talent acquisition team, that kind of standardization of ideas or standardization of the process or the mindset is not there. They say speak another language, the understanding or the expectation from the other side is different. So that creates more expectation gap also. Thank you.
so on that note, so the pressure is coming for something, right? So would you say it's coming for the speed of hiring or coordination between teams or the quality of decisions being made? So where, if you have to put out pinpoint one thing that is, can break and will create a larger impact, what would it be?
I would, attribute everything around the quality and the speed of hiring, because you see, the whole idea is to kill three things, right? Speed, it's about time, effort, and energy. That is speed, or that is efficiency or effectiveness, or whatever you call it. So the whole idea is to bring that whenever whatever systems we have been talking, it's not the ATS or the AI which we have been. I've been associated with Dupo for a long years, so we have been talking this for a long time. So whatever it is, first and foremost, the understanding of the so-called process flow should be very much there, and then only you can really have that kind of mindset to understand the system. So probably even you have the best of the systems, if the understanding or the poor quality decisions are there, you'll not reach anywhere. This is my thought.
Yeah,
thank you.
That's it. Anything to add, Deepu? Anything to add, Anusri, to this?
No, he's absolutely right. There's a lot of talk about AI replacing humans, and then humans need to collaborate, but nobody is actually giving the steps of how do we collab, right?
Absolutely.
There's a lot of similar talks happening across the industry, and like he rightly said, it's the onus is on us. How do we actually learn to coexist?
I can just add one point there, right? So now we are in a very typical scenario where the sea of sameness, in the sense that when there is a job description, lot of or if not, I think most of the candidates, what they do is they go to some of those online tools available, upload the job description, and say that create a matching resume for this. So the AI system generates a matching resume for the JD. And this is what most of the candidates do. So end of the day, every candidate will have a ATS, the so-called ATS friendly, AI friendly, LLM friendly resume. And they at the max try to humanize some text of it so that they think it gets an added advantage. And so end of the day, from a ATS or a recruitment platform or a HR perspective, they always get a perfect JD, perfect resume. And now what happens after that? The ATS, the so-called AI ATS, will parse his resume and try to find who is best. Now, when who is best, everyone is the same, right? So that's a sea of sameness. It's kind of a paradox that we are in. I mean, end of the day, everyone, because the end of the day, resume is not a a representation of what you are. It's a marketing material which says, this is what I want you to think of me. Nothing more than that. Now, imagine, right? I mean, you have a lot of those AI systems, and I think that we are at the cusp where we need to learn how to use the AI system, both the candidate and the recruiter. I think that is where things will start breaking now. I mean, but it's for good. It will start breaking. It will break forever. And then there will be a point when we will learn how to manage this, how to live with that. I think we are at a phase where things will break, and I think we should expect that.
Sahit, can I steal? I am sure you will throw me out very soon, but can I steal Anushri's and Deepu's point? And I was just writing it out. It's called human system intelligence. HSI is what I could learn from both of them. You really need to understand it's a convergence of both. You cannot take it out when you really happen to hear Deepu. That's what you need to understand. Also, Anushri was also saying that it's a layer where you need to understand human and the system, and then you have to apply your intelligence. It cannot be taken out. Thank you.
Got it. Yeah, definitely. I think those are the great points and right off the start. So, but we know that there's a problem in the traditional system without AI, and there's a problem with AI. And we are hoping that with the augmented intelligence or AI that we assume, the hiring is going to get better. Eventually, for some way, the more tools will come in, more things will come in. I know that there's for one thing that okay, this will make us hiring better. They tend to make 10 ways of how can we cheat in those interviews. But so Anusri, you advise leadership teams, you have advice, and you continue doing so in India's biggest organizations. In your experience, are companies often misdiagnosing the hiring problem? Are they trying to fix something that like recruiter productivity, when the real issue is something different or something more structural? What signs do you see?
Very good question. In fact, recruiter productivity is easier because it is measurable, right? At the end of the day, and easier to bet on. What's more important today is that first we need to break on two things. There can be a lengthy answer to this, there can be a short answer to this. I'll try to attempt both. What happens is, as far as recruiter and HR function is concerned, a lot of times our approach is has been traditional, has been someone who's just a resume downloader, and someone who will shortlist. Very traditional approach we've been having as far as transactions are concerned in the process. What is important for each and every recruiter and the CHRO in the process is that we become talent advisors, right? It's important that we bring in some value in the process rather than just saying that, okay, this is that AI tool that we are using. These are the smart scores. These are the candidates, and then let's just proceed with the next steps. It doesn't work like that. I think for
Absolutely.
for a mature hiring process, each and every recruiter today needs to learn, and like we mentioned, we need to actually coexist, learn. And recruitment has never been just one man's show. It has always been even if it is a front face, we are the front face of the organization. It is a collective effort for any brand, right? Today, if we talk about face-to-face interaction, the candidate comes into the vicinity and also observes the housekeeping of the vicinity, right? So it is a collective. It is not just the hiring manager who's going to be meeting. It is not just going to, it is not just the HR who's going to meet the person. It is a collaborative, collective effort that goes into the entire process. And gone are the days when we should actually look at it as in a traditional manner. It's us, it's the onus is on us, how we collaborate, what values we bring onto the table as far as recruitment is concerned and the process is concerned. And we can have a lengthy hour-old discussion on how do we progress. But yes, to cut short your question, yes, it does exist, and we need to eventually break it.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question for any one of you that would want to go. There are some early signals that tell you that this particular hiring model simply won't scale. Do you want to discuss any signals you see that okay, this particular thing, even though we're working on it, it might work as a jugaad but won't go better in the long term? How do you evaluate those breaking points?
Anybody wants to go first, or should I just try to attempt to answer?
Yes,
You're
yes,
on
yes,
mute,
Anushree,
Arvind.
please. Yeah.
Okay, maybe Anusri and Deepu can go ahead, and then I'll steal their ideas, and then I'll rewrite it. Yeah.
There are a lot of ways and means
Yes.
of addressing this particular question side. What is important for all of us, to each its own again, all the organizations work in a different manner. The decision making authority is different. The style is different. What we need to understand is how relevant, how immediate the hiring requirement is, right? How valid it is, whether we have enough and plenty resources to ensure that we, fill in those positions. And, at the end of the day, the entire process becomes again very traditional if we are not attempting or adding any value to our experience, right? So it's extremely important to first things first understand what that requirement is all about, what is the need, and how urgent that requirement is, and whether we can fill it in or we really need to go external, uh, uh, you know, and give our 100% efforts to find the external talent and bring that person on board.
Okay,
Then-
yeah, yeah. I'll just add to what Anushree said, right? So, when your question was mostly about, what are some red flags or signals, right, Sahid? That's what you were asking, right? Right. So, from that perspective, one of the thing, what we have seen with a lot of these customers is many a times the recruitment problem, the companies try to fix the problem by increasing the productivity or demanding the recruiters to be more productive. And when we say more productive, we are talking about they push for more sourcing, they push for more interviews, they push for more KPIs, better turnaround time. But here, one thing which I've seen is that whenever the company is trying to fix the problem by increasing the recruiter speed, we don't understand the real problem is in the decision architecture. I mean, when you look at recruitment, right? Recruitment is nothing less than a sales job. There are numbers, there are targets. Positions have to be closed in an urgency, like Anushree was mentioning. Everything has to be like quick, fast, and the person has it is a number game. Now, when there is a parallel between sales and recruitment, sales has something called a playbook. Sales playbook, how to sell, the best practices. But in recruitment, do we have a playbook at all? It's the gut feeling. It runs with the gut feeling. The recruiter feels the candidate is good. The recruiter feels the candidate might stay. The recruiter feels the candidate might quit. It's all gut feeling when it comes to recruitment. We don't have a playbook, even though talent is the most important resource of an organization. It's more than customer. You can immediately get on one good conversation with the founder, and tomorrow some new customer may come. But you don't get a good talent like that because they're already with an organization. So it's a strategic game. The talent acquisition is a strategic game. So unless we have a very strong decision architecture, how much ever we try to push the recruiter hard to be more productive, per se, by the term, I think that is a red flag. That's a concerning flag for any organization if they don't have a playbook for recruitment. If they don't have an aligned something, there should be like a decision alignment between multiple recruiters and the stakeholders of recruitment. And to me, that is a red flag.
In fact,
Whenever you
just to add you, in fact, just to add here, what's important in the process is that we also go back to the hiring manager. We also go back to the HR or the hiring managers or the decision makers in the process, saying that this is getting delayed, whether we are on track. And like you rightly say, HR or recruitment, talent acquisition per se, is definitely the sales and marketing arm of the HR function. So it's extremely important who's front ending it, and how is extremely important. Each one of us today needs to ask this to ourselves, whether we are actually going back to our hiring managers and asking them the reason for delay, or whether they are getting the right set of the right set of candidates, whether we are on track, because it is again a collaborative process today. If, for example, you're putting in an AI system that I require an architecture, with so and so credentials, and somebody else, probably a BCom graduate applies to it, who is going to actually validate that, right? AI will do its job. The person who's trying to apply to it will obviously, fool the system and apply it, but who's going to validate that? That's the question, right? So we need to also build, like it, this is a traditional way of saying it, and we've all been hearing to the same thing, that what we put in, the input has to be right to get the right output, right? So that's about it.
There's a quite interesting things we're talking about. So I don't want to paraphrase in such a way, but we are seeing that manual processes are still required and they are at the top of the thing, right? Even though we have AI that could, ease into the top of the funnel, but for the middle of the funnel, or it's just talking in a CS term, right? Whether AI might help in screening and etc. But where the most decision goes, second round of interview, third round of interview,
Right.
their background, if they're going to join, the skill set is where AI or there's the manual process still involved. So Dipu, on that note,
Shahid, with your permission, can I add on few things? Very important piece which I literally wanted to state is, I don't know whether you literally you would have heard what Anusri was saying initially. Talented, trusted advisors. The role is changing now with the advent of the so-called AI. It's trusted, talented advisor, or whatever you can call it. Because when you say earlier, we used to say recruiters, or in this one, talent acquisition professionals, or whatever you name it, the proficiency. Now you're looking at someone as in talent advisors. You take up the consulting role. Number one. Number two, if even you have the best of the systems, your so-called human judgment comes into play. That's where you do the cultural fitment. I'm of a I always favor it. I don't know, some other organizations don't favor it, but for me at least till date, culture fitment has always worked. Because when you see someone, your system would have done the due diligence in terms of the skill, knowledge, your so-called abilities, or whatever it is. But then when I see someone, I always believe, and this is something which has been taught to me by my mentors, your action speaks more than your words. So it comes out naturally. And you can, and I'm sure with your so-called experience, exposure, your environment, and the energy what you have as a recruiter, you can always read a lot of cues which cannot be trained or which cannot be coached, but through the so-called intuition and your experience, you take it up. And that's when you say these are red flags in this candidate, let's not go for it, let's not go for him or her. And that's something which I wanted to make it. And everything, as rightly, again, I'm stealing it from Manusri, it's a collaborative ecosystem. Managers, system, and the recruiters, it acts in hand. You cannot separate it. Everyone has to be part of the platform or the ecosystem to and speak the same language of capability, competency, skill sets, or whatever you name it. Thank you.
Got it. I think we are not debating whether he's going to. I mean, like in a way that the recruiters are being replaced, but they, as you mentioned, co-pilot where the cohabitation is required between a recruiter and AI. But there are still organizations which I won't say are oblivious, but they are staying away from AI. They are trying to say, okay, we trust our manual processes more than those AI processes. Maybe because privacy or these things are not ready yet. We don't know how they trust. We don't know how to defend ourselves. So for those organizations, that are still relying on only manual processes, where do you think the first break is going to happen? Where are those organizations hiring process are going to break without AI, in no process of AI?
Understood. So, according to me, this break, it's not like a breaking system. It will not break as such. It's going to degrade. And it's a process, it's a slow but steady process of degradation. The reason why it's a degradation is because, even without any AI system, even with an Excel sheet or a pen and paper, you can run recruitment as long as the numbers are low. But when the volume increases, and then human screening may not be really, practically possible. Say, for example, we have 500 or 1,000 or 2,000 applicants that comes against a given job role. That is when the recruiters go into a survival mode. You have to survive. And at that time, what happens is that until then, the first 10 resumes, the recruiter will be reading the resume. And after that, they just look for patterns. This I know. I mean, they won't even just glance, and they get a pattern from the resume. And what happens is, it's not like an evidence-driven, it's a heuristic-driven decision after that. You just take it's not an informed decision. They just feel, again, as I said, a gut feeling. This resume looks decent, shortlist. This resume doesn't look decent, okay, let's park it. Now, what happens is, so now to answer your question, when this happens, when you don't have a system in place, when you have numbers at scale and it's large in number, the first degradation happens in the early stage filtering itself. And that is when, the quality drops starts. right? Because the best candidate may not find the second stage. No, the average candidate might find its way into the second stage. So the early stage filtering will go for a toss. Now, after that, what happens is that now you have a lot of average candidates in the pipeline in the interview stage. Again, you don't have a system in place. Everybody will start interviewing them in their own way. And then what will happen is there is no consistency in evaluation. So first you had a filtering issue, then evaluation consistency goes for a toss. Now, slowly, if you look at it, bad source, inconsistent evaluation, and now because of which the communication will be off toes, the candidates won't start getting timely feedback, and end of the day the experience will collapse. That is the end of it, right? If you look at it, 3 breakpoints or degradation points. The first one will be at an early stage filtering, then it comes at a candidate experience at the end. So this is a gradual flow. Now, if you are able, not as an organization or as a recruiter, if you're not able to handle these 3 points, filtering, evaluation, and candidate experience, then TA or recruitment as a function, I think there's a huge question that is raised now, right? So that is where I would place that we really need to think about having an AI system, or forget about AI system to start with. If you're talking about a smaller thing, at least a system in place. And then when you have high numbers, think about how you can automate it. And when you have even higher number, you need to move in a much agentic and this direction. You need to think about autonomous or an agentic approach. I think that is where we are heading, and that's why we need an AI-based system, Sahib. And this is my perspective.
Got it. That's quite an interesting insight, Deepu, and I think that makes sense. Anything you want to add, Arvind sir or MC, to this? No. Okay, cool. So, while we talk about the processes, we did a survey, and the response and surveys, organizations are increasing their AI investment, but maturity levels vary enormously. So the critical question is, what's real impact and what's experimentation? So considering, Anushree, you sit at the leadership level, advisory, you know what organization actually is able to do via AI versus what they're claiming it is doing for them. So where do you see AI genuinely moving the needle in hiring right now versus where it's still more promise than practice?
I think, my personal experience has been that in volume hiring, right, AI definitely plays a big role and a good comfort to all the recruiters, because it's practically impossible to, even if anybody is claiming that, yes, I reviewed all the resume, no, sorry, you're goofing up. It's clear cut. It's not possible, especially with large conglomerates where, the funnel is heavy, right? The resumes, the applications are heavy. It has to have an AI tool to manage the application. So yes, in the initial screening, it helps. It helps with smart scores, like I mentioned. The moment you put good input to shortlist a particular profile, right? Then it gives you smart scores. That is where it helps. Then I think, like he mentioned on the co-pilot, right, taking interview notes, that's another, less of a burden for human intervention, where you need not, traditionally, we used to actually pen down, right, pen down notes, otherwise carry notebooks. We still do, old school people. So yes, we still prefer carrying notebooks even today. But what happens is, a lot of times you cannot just be dependent on your this, right? So it helps in taking the notes. Copilot is really fast and efficient. It just, like it is recording our session today, it does record the sessions. And plus what happens is, it helps when we go back to the interview and the recording. We as recruiters or talent acquisition professionals also get to study the pattern of questions, understand the hiring requirement that the hiring managers or even the leaders have. It is not necessary that only the hiring manager is meeting, right? There are cases where the HOD is meeting. There are cases where the board member is meeting. There are cases where the chairman is meeting. So all of their perspectives are recorded, and for us, for our homework, it helps, right? At the end of the day, we can always go back to any interviews and go through what happened, what kind of questions the were asked, so that we also prepare the candidates, prepare ourselves, for that matter, also correct our course, our methods in terms of whether we are getting the right set of candidates. So that is where it helps. Now, where perhaps your question was, where it is still a promise, is Arvind mentioned, predicting the culture fit. That's something that is done only by an experienced senior most HR or any hiring manager involved in the process, because they have seen the entire cycle, they have been with the ecosystem for long, they understand what works, what doesn't work, and their inputs are extremely important. And obviously, AI cannot solve that for us. For a long term effectiveness in terms of the right hire, it's important that the person meets, the person spends time, we understand the energies, right? It's important because AI will do what we are asking it to do. Physical energies are something that we will be able to only understand when we are actually spending that much of time, that much of face time with the person. So yes, all this is important, and like I mentioned, it's more of AI is more of reporting to you rather than competing with you. So unless and until I remember a very good discussion with one of the senior leader, where he mentioned that even the housekeeping or even the maids or cooks who come at home, right, who are supporting us in our daily routines, must also start using chat gpt. Like we've been using Google, why not use chat gpt for our questions? I mean, gone are the days when we have been, it is accessible, in earlier days mobile phones were not uh, available or accessible to everyone, but today everyone has it. It is like AI, so use it for your purposes, use it for your gaining knowledge. It depends on person to person how well you are able to use it. So I hope it answers your question, Shahid.
Yeah, very well, very well. I don't have any follow up to that, but yeah, makes sense that the points you covered about that the physical, I mean, like that physical energies needs to match, and while AI is definitely a need and must have. So, Deepu, coming to you with other than must have, so something while in hiring, volume hiring, Anushka mentioned that. Uh, where is AI already preventing hiring failure? Besides that, and where is it absolute necessary now in this hiring processes beyond those first initial screening?
Yeah, so where is AI necessary? I would say it is relative. It's not like a one size fits all type. It purely depends on the organization. It purely depends on the team. So you can't, I mean, being one of the co-founders of a recruitment product, I should say that you should use AI everywhere. But in academic interest, I would say that use AI where it is really bothering you to start with. Of course, yes, it is good if you adopt it everywhere. There will be decision consistency. There will be lack of bias. It's all there. But as an organization, when they are about to adopt AI as a strategy in their process, it takes time. It takes people to accept the change, right? So if you want to start slowly introduce one particular process, when you break down recruitment, you see sourcing is one, then you have interviews another point, then you have negotiation on the other side, then you have joining and onboarding formalities on the other end. So see where exactly do you have the, is interview a problem, is sourcing a problem? Maybe there are certain organizations like, for example, I don't want to take the names, but say, for example, Reliance. If they publish a job, there will be a lot of applicants. So I don't think sourcing is a challenge for them. The brand itself speaks for them. But then the point might be, how do you find the best candidates from that? But for an organization like us, we're a startup, right, where we are just trying to prove our point in various aspects. For us, sourcing is a challenge to get the right candidate. For us, I would say the best one would be to have a sourcing AI tool to ensure that we get the right matching candidate. As Arvind was saying, cultural match is important. It's the best candidate is the right mix of the matching culture and the matching level of knowledge. right? So I would say what is missing or what should be adopted is purely based on our situation. What do we stand? What's our pain point? What do we need to solve? What is actually a blocker for us? That's how I would leave it.
Got it. Very well point, Bipu, and I think that makes sense. Personalizing to your own companies. I think identifying the problem and then implementing AI for to solve this problem is the best way out. Anything you want to add, Arvind sir, over here, or I have a question for you now.
Again, I'll since I'm taking the back seat, I'm stealing everyone's point. The best thing I think both Anusri and Deepu have used a very important word called. Don't get me wrong if I'm using jargons. It's called contextual intelligence. If X is using AI, just X is doing X number of things. Let's not also get into that. This one, what do you say? Excitement, saying that okay, I'll also do it, because it should not be a tick mark exercise. These kind of talent, these kind of brand, and all those things are very, very sophisticated, because we are looking at an organization in terms of scaling up. I firmly believe anyone who has started at his X point, he is not just looking to just manage the equation for 1 year or 2 year. After 1 or 2 years, it's not a startup. It's again a scaling excellence, like what Deepu was rightly saying. So when you're looking at any kind of having this kind of tools, we don't just try to see, okay, we'll just manage tools, AI tools for just namesake and then finish up things. We should always have this learning system also in the place where the so-called talent advisors also are part of the whole equation, where they also train themselves. There is a lot of learning and unlearning also happening together with the AI. So AI is just an enabler. That's what Anusri was rightly trying to say, is because AI cannot solve the tools. And at the end, let's always bet on something called imagination. And that imagination is what God has given to us. Even you see the latest, I mean, latest models of so-called AIs, from all ChatGPTs to the clouds of the world. It's only because of imagination. So that we should not be giving it to AI. At least that we should keep it up. And depending on the context, you really need to understand whether you should have it or not. That's my 2 cents. Thank you. I assume that I have confused you to the core. Sorry about that. Thank you.
No,
No,
definitely.
no.
Well, I'll get deeper into this, as you break it down. But before I come to you, I will want to put out a poll for the audience. So, where do you see the most value in AI for hiring? So, Arvind sir, you have implemented, AI-driven workflows in an organization as Volvo. So there are issues of resistance in it. It could be on the very ground level. It could be the newcomers or something. Where does the resistance show up first? Is it recruiters protecting their processes, like how Anushri mentioned at the start? I have my own ways to with a book, with a pen, with this, or is it something like because AI makes it standardized for everyone, right? Not one shoes fits all. And hiring managers, or is it a hiring manager distrusting the output, that maybe I talked and I felt this way, or AI gave this way, or is something different? Where does the resistance show up?
Okay, small correction side. I have not done much on this side, but then very important thing. I was part of the whole process for one of the units. Very important thing is I'll still echo the same thing. When you say an ecosystem, there are a lot of stakeholders involved in it, from the system point, from the stakeholder point, which is our managers, and most important thing, the talent acquisition team, and the most important, the business partners also. You cannot remove them from the equation, because they support in terms of the interviewing and other things also. So and also higher number of stakeholders in the whole scheme of things. When you look at, as rightly said, when the hiring is from the top, it depends on the it is not purely the volume, but then the quality of the hire also. When you go to the top, the set of validations or the set of things which we do also vary. So what happens is, first and foremost, what we really need to do is, I mean, the most important thing are the workflows, something which is really written in as a document, because most of the times, all three stakeholders are the key stakeholders: the people partners, or the so-called business partners, the talent acquisition team, and the stakeholders, and the system people. They themselves are totally they are not in sync, or it is not standardized. That's where I see the most of the glitches. And when we try to have a process, when we start doing the hiring process, the system gives us one input, and then recruiter sends that report to the manager says, no, this is not what I was looking for. These are the set of, I was looking for a different set of competencies, and the person who has been hired is totally different. So once you have the standardization, once you also ensure there is enough, please don't get me wrong, I'll just use this word called learning, or you facilitate a lot of sessions or training sessions for them, or education system for them, or teach them very well, things would get standardized, number one. And most of the things, the AI system tool is only shown to the so-called recruiters. Let's ensure We get the buy-in from the most important key stakeholders called your managers, who are part of the most important key stakeholders for the ecosystem. So sometimes if the system, if it is AI systems or anything, is only shown to the recruiter from his or her eyes, everything is fine. They just want to ensure systems are fine. But then are the managers okay? Are the business partners okay? If everyone is in sync, you get EC buy-in also. So these are two things which I could say. If you want to get a buy-in, ensure everyone is aligned with your goal or objective, number one, and also constantly and consistently ensure there's a learning systems. Sometimes new updates comes, only HR is aware of that. Poor managers are not aware of that. So we should ensure any kind of nudges or learning nudges has to be propagated across the stakeholder management or the ecosystem. Once you do that, everyone is in the same thought process. Once we have, then everyone understands the outcome also. Because even you look at competencies in the definition, only few people know it, right? HRs have their own language, but has this been understood by the managers who speak the technical language? So we all need to have the same understanding of things. Otherwise, it becomes a hazardous.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Hope I have tried my best to confuse and
Yeah.
convince you. Thank you.
No, that's a great point, Arun sir. And honestly, do you want to add anything to this? What?
No,
Arun sir?
he was good in terms of helping us understand that learning it is for all of us. Continuous learning. The moment I think we, feel that we know it all and the student in us is
Stops.
losing off is when the issue starts, right? So we need to keep the student alive in us at all times, from anybody, from anywhere. We can seek
Learn.
knowledge,
Yeah.
we can add on to our whatever we know, and we can, just fly high, keep flying high.
Last but not the least, I'll confuse you with one more thing. Most of us are flexible. Most of us are agile. Most of us are adaptable. But how many of us are adoptable? This is one question I want everyone to think.
I'll probably add a couple of points there, Sahid.
Sure.
So when Arvind was saying about the stakeholders and managers, I was just thinking, we were looking at some of the deployments that we have done in larger organizations over the past few years. So mostly what we have seen is that though it is a little difficult to initially sell this AI-driven systems to recruiters, I think recruiters accept it because for them, it's kind of a welcome relief from repetitive tasks. That's the way they look at it.
That's right.
But the resistance, as the question goes, the resistance is different at different levels. For example, for a recruiter, it's always about, will it replace me? For a hiring manager, it's all about, can I trust this? The decision. That is where I think we talk a lot about explainability, why this decision is taken, and make it transparent. And for a leadership, it's always about, can I defend it? Is it defensible or not? It's a reputational risk more than the benefit. They look at the reputation part. If I adopt this, will I have an issue with my reputation, with my organization's reputation? So I think it's all about when you are pushing a AI system into an organization, and as Arvind was mentioning, how adoptable is that? How adoptable are you or your philosophy? I think it's all about positioning rather than this as a decision maker. We position this as a, something like a decision intelligence, if you can say like that.
Yes.
Right? It's not a decision, it's a decision intelligence. It's an addendum on top of, your human judgment is there, and this is something which is going to support you. And I'll be able to say this at least for the next 1 year at least. After that, we don't know. That's something which we have to wait and see how this, whole equation is going to be like. But at least as of today, I think AI system is more of a decision intelligence rather than a decision maker. And if you take that approach, I think it's more, the resistance can be much simpler, easier to handle.
Got it. That's very interesting point, Dipu, and very well ties in with what I wanted to ask you. If you can continue. So those that are adopting AI in their journey, maybe beginner level or intermediate level, what is the initial first steps they can do? Something that delivers visible value, or they can reduce the resistance from the team, and or without overwhelming the team on burning lots of capital at the get go.
I think I was right. I think it's more or less related to the previous discussion that we had, right? It's about identify that bottleneck in the organization, in the recruitment process, and see if that change that you're trying to bring about is about to solve 20 to 30% of that problem. If this so-called tool that we're trying to adopt is positively contributing to the bottleneck that is there in the talent acquisition, then I think that is the right place to start, rather than saying that let us, implement AI everywhere, and then it's kind of a spray and pray game, and you don't know what's going to happen, right? So identify that bottleneck, fix that, slowly get the confidence of the team, and then, as I said earlier, like the transparency part, the explainability part, because people have to be comfortable with this new thing. I still remember the first deployment that we did with a major bank, and they were doing campus recruitment, and we said all this, funda and gyan about AI based systems, and end of the day, they happily use the system, but we could see that they had this printouts with them when they went for the campus recruitment, because they were like taking notes in parallel, because they were not sure whether the system will work. Right, it's a bank, they have their own compliance. It was a brilliant decision, but they are a happy customer for the last 6 years. But the point here is that it took multiple iterations for them to trust the system. So that's what I think. Identify the bottleneck, go step by step, and make the stakeholders confident before you take that deep plunge and say that now let's be a AI first organization.
Got it. That's I think it's very well close to the conversation we're having. I have a very different question to you, Arvind sir. Right. So let's say for all those people watching this right now, or maybe watching in the on-demand version, let's say today's Wednesday and by Monday, if they have to make one small change which can impact value to the hiring decisions, what would you recommend to them? One small. Yeah.
Okay, it's one small means it should be only a one-liner. So indirectly, I've got the message. So I'll definitely obey you. So this one is basically ensure there is something called feedback loops. Most of the times, why? I'm just taking the human side. Okay, most of the organizations, even if it's you're looking for a 20,000 number or a 20 number or a 2 number, ensure why this, as rightly I'm again stealing this word from Anushri, talent advisor is a very important role, and talent advisor ecosystem, if it has to be really making a difference in the whole scheme of things, you should always ensure, besides your turnaround time, your cost per hire, your quality per hire, all those metrics, ensure you give the feedback on consistent basis. And I think some of the great organizations, I'm not saying about the good organizations, great organizations always surpass that, because you asked me, that would be my number one KPI, because I've seen some of the people telling others saying that please don't apply there, you're not going to get any response. Even if it's a one liner, ensure you respond, because let's be very empathetic, at least in this particular world where we are seeing a lot of tractions at this point. Giving feedback can bring that kind of trust in an organization, and I would look that in a very, very serious manner. Not sure whether I've answered your question.
That answers. I'll come to you, same Anushree ma'am, but tweaking the question a bit. So, what's the one mistake that they should avoid? Right? It isn't what the mistake they should avoid, or if one mistake they have to fix, what it would be.
Who? Again, please?
The CHROs or the heads changing their hiring.
One thing, it has to be decision velocity. It has to be, fixing the hiring accountability. It has to be a co-owning process. I feel, hand holding or perhaps asking one person one person accountable for this particular entire process is not fair. What we need to ensure is we fix those gaps completely before even we begin the search, right? Before even any recruiter is mandated with a particular position at all across level at the leadership. We need to ensure that, okay, this position exists. We really are in need of this position, and there has to be a time frame to it. It just cannot go for, there would be, I'm sure in all our experiences, we would have gone through or we faced, a situation where a particular position is doing a good round in the ecosystem for a year and more. How many of us have actually gone back to the hiring manager or to our bosses asking, sir, do we really need this position? Right? It's important, again, like I mentioned, traditionally, we just need to keep everything aside and ensure that whatever comes onto our table, we add value to it. And how are we going to do that? Just by ensuring that we fix it. Whoever is the decision making authority here need to fix the accountability, and the decision velocity has to be addressed.
Deepu, anything would you want to answer any of the either questions or add?
Yeah, so you were asking about what will you avoid, right?
Hmm.
I would say the best thing that you should avoid at this stage is to avoid automating chaos, right? Because if you are planning to automate, ensure that you have a clean system, clean processes, aligned decision, like Anushree was saying, the decision velocity, the decision architecture, the responsibility segregation, the competencies. Aravind was talking about how many of them understand competencies, right? The competency matrices. What are we, when we are evaluating a role, what are we talking about? This person looks good, he sounds good, she's answers in a decent manner, but there should be some competencies that we are evaluating against. So unless and until we have the recruitment methodology, recruitment process, the decision architecture clean, don't go for automating, because otherwise you are automating something which is in a chaotic situation. So that is where I would say don't automate chaos. So avoid that.
That's, I think, point well taken for all, and not automating chaos. I have an interesting question, bit vague. I don't know who to shoot it out to, but Mona Lisa George is asking: is AI successful in any industries or IT companies,
Or IT.
or any industry or specifically IT companies? Is it successful? Deepu, would you?
Can I answer it? I'll try my best to confuse poor person. Okay, it depends on the outcome, impact, and the value you are looking at. The answer is as simple as that, because this is a very vague question. The outcome depends on the industry. It is very specific to the companies also, because it's how much you understand the so-called AI, and then how much you're trying to capitalize on it by seeing it as enabler. That will define the measure of success, MOS. So it is a function of the impact and value which it creates based on your set of outcomes. You don't have a standard answer for it. That's my take. Thank you.
I think similar question, or like tying question with Ravina has asked is, what metrics should a TA person follow considering the AI? So I think, what metrics, Deepu, can you shed some light on, or maybe
Sure.
what metrics should one consider? This is the success of AI.
Do you want to go first?
No, go ahead. Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay, so see, there are a lot of, I mean, especially when you're running a recruitment platform, you get different KPIs, different metrics to be added to the dashboard on a daily basis. I mean, you look at the turnaround times, you look at the yield ratio, you look at the entire span of timeline and time to do multiple things. But I think, end of the day, I think it's been covered by both Anushree and Arvind also. It's about the overall decision velocity. It's all about the quality of hire. So these are the two things that typically every talent action team is striving for, nothing more than that and nothing less than that. Now, any other KPI that you are tracking will be around this. You're talking about the recruiter productivity, the number of calls, it's all under this. But the most important two KPIs, how soon are you hiring and how good are you hiring? So that is the thing is that how do you measure the quality of hire? Because talent acquisition life cycle stops the moment the candidate joins the organization. But the quality of the hire you will get to know only after a few appraisal cycles. Is the data flowing back? Is that feedback coming back into the system? When we talk about recruitment talent acquisition process, I think that Anushree was mentioning something about, is somebody going to the hiring manager and asking, did you get a good hire? Did you get a good person from us? So those are, I would say, rather than the transactional KPIs, which anyway would be, kind of taken up by multiple of those agents and things like that, where it matters is we as human beings with the emotional intelligence, what we should think about is my work up to the point that my stakeholders are deriving value out of it? So there is inter-system communication that we're talking about. So the KPI that matters in the future would be the value that my function is adding, not the micro, but the macro value that my function is adding. So I would say, if I can to put the name, I can say 100, I would say, not I'm exaggerating, but 30 to 40 metrics I can easily say. But what matters is quality of hire, a measurable technique for measuring the quality, that is by the longevity of the employee in the organization, the quality that the person is, the performance metrics or the performance appraisal feedback and things like that. And the speed at which you are hiring for hiring good quality candidates. This is what I would look at.
And just to add to what Deepu is saying is that, recruitment or recruiter productivity is not just measured in the standard KPIs. At the end of the day, we need to ensure that we are in touch with all the hires that we have done as an individual, right? And we provide them, and we are in touch with them, most importantly, throughout. So, is when we will get to know what needs to be changed in our methods, the way we operate, if there are any particular ways and means we have been opting for, if we need to change our ways and means. So that's important, and it is a two-way process. It just doesn't stop at, once the candidate joins in. You also need to ensure that you, keep a tab on the hire, whether the hiring manager and the person is going along. At the end of the day, nobody is signing up with us for the rest of their lives, right? On an average, even if the hire is able to perform or stay with the organization for anywhere close to 3 to 5 years, we've done a good job, right? So that's how our matrix also has to be, in terms of how do we evaluate ourselves in the process.
That's a very interesting point to have. Like, just that Deepu has said, feedback loop, it can take a longer amount of time to get the feedback and the AI to. But I think maybe us, how we involve here could be a good thing. I do have a question that Arvind sir, I would want you to answer. So Pushpa Ramana has, it's a long question. I'll just read it out the crux of it. India being a resource rich country and many jobless HRs, do we really need adoption of AI extensively in TA? Is it that we do not want to miss the bus and have hopped in? Will it put a stress on resources, energy, and water? This is a thought which came to her when she was going to Sundar Pichai's LinkedIn announcement about data center in Vizag. And she said that, of course, AI is important, but she also mentioned that the usage of AI in interviews is causing frustration in candidates.
Looks like even this question, I don't know who, even Sundar, I mean, it has been posed to, it should have been posed to Sundar Pichai instead of Arvind Warrior, but still I'll try my best to, I'll just share you a little wisdom which I know. See, I'll go back to what I said initially also. See, don't, since you have an AI tool, don't give everything to an AI tool. But then I think that's when we, as in human beings, I think we have been using human system intelligence, or we've been speaking about human intelligence also. I think some of things, I think recruitment, if you look at, now I was just looking at AI, this one architecture also. I think across everything we have been speaking AI. But let's understand where exactly we're going to use AI and where exactly we're going to use human intelligence. I'll rephrase it, because everything cannot be just outsourced because AI is there. Still, as I firmly believe, there are a lot of, if you ask ChatGPT which is the best medicines for your kidneys, you'll still get list of medicines. But do you would you only depend on that, or wouldn't you go to a doctor? Of course, yes, you'll go to a doctor to vet it. So I think at the end, this intelligence has to be really used, which is the imagination and the intuition and the insight which has been given to your so-called brain, and that has to be really amalgamated or used with the so-called system intelligence. That makes the perfect cut, is what I would like to inform the person who has asked me the question. Because I think interviews also has to be done at a human front only. When you see someone, there are few things which comes out, because I'm sure the veteran Deepu and Sri have been doing extensive interviews from the top to the bottom. They have been doing it, and I'm sure that's where you cleanly understand whether the person is a right fit for my organization. That's when you'll also understand whether the person is fit for the job. These are not something purely a gyan per matter, but these are something which has been really proven facts, and something which has been proven through the experience and expertise which people have been doing it. Because your intuition comes into play, because it's intuition plus experience which gives weight to this human intelligence. So we have to be using both together, and I don't think uh, systems alone can replace any of these. At least I'm a firm believer of that. Even this question has been raised to the best of the consultants across the world, the McKinseys and BCGs. Would they lose their jobs? They still are. The consultants are still needed, and I'm sure everyone would agree to it. The human brain is not a pure substitute in AI machine. That's a firm belief which I have. Thank you.
Very well answered, Arvind sir. Anything last closing? Anything you want to add, Anushri ma'am or Deep?
No, are we done? Are we done with the questions? Then perhaps we will, have a closing statement. So maybe, the last two cents that I'd like to put in here is network.
Yes.
Network meaning not just keep on adding connections on LinkedIn, but uh, build red network, like speak to people, understand who's doing what, at least for your own specific areas if you're not completely covering all the industries. For example, if you're in the FMCG, ensure who's doing what. Make your own database in terms of the first few level of leaders. What happens if we end up doing this time to hire and all that, you will be able to avoid. Today, whatever business unit you're responsible for and accountable for, you should always have a list ready with you. So tomorrow, if the hiring begins, you should know, okay, ये कंपनी में ये CFO इधर इतने सालों से काम कर रहा है, right? So networking is important. Building your own database is important. At the end of the day, this will help, and of course, with the help of the AI tools that is available, because database is easily available. It is all uploaded. It is all uh, pinned to each other. So it'll obviously help. Networking, why it is important is because today we need to also ask one more question to ourselves. We might have 10,000 followers, 20,000 connections. Few people will have 500 plus, but the real question is, how many of them have actually really helped you, or how many of them have you helped, right? Whether we genuinely know all of them. So at least filter it out. Even if we are not getting in touch with all the LinkedIn members, at least a list of couple of people who we know, okay, this is my this is my particular area of work, and these are the set of target companies that are directly the competition to my business, and these are the set of people who are actually currently actively working. So that builds your database, and that helps eventually. So on that note, I'd like to thank Deepu and Mr. Arvind and Shahid and Rimli, right, for inviting us. It was a pleasure to represent Reliance, to represent, whatever little experience and wisdom I have and I carry. And I really look forward. I enjoyed interacting with all of you, and really look forward to more such sessions where we get to learn, along with each other. Thank you.
Same.
Thank you,
Humbled and
Anushree.
honored.
I was just going to say, yeah, that before we end, just wanted to leave a stat from a survey that one insight that caught our attention was many leaders believed over half of all hiring decisions would be AI assisted within 5 years. So I had a question for that, but any closing remarks, Arvind sir and Deepu?
Uh, Closing remarks. One is basically don't wait for anything to happen, because it's an age of AI. Your decisions need not be always about data. So because the flow has to be really fast now. It's a world of the so-called agility, right? So don't wait for all data to come. It will not be there. With whatever data you have, ensure you take right decisions with the speed, because if you don't take with speed, your ex companies or ex competitors will do it. So that's one small piece of advice which I would like to give. Thank you.
Thank you.
And really humbled and honored, and thanks to the entire Deepu. I know him, he's been so kind, and Shahid and Rimli also, you all been kind, and I'm humbled and honored. I could steal a lot of ideas from Anusri also, so that for me it was a truly learning more than anyone else. So I could steal a lot of words from you all. I've taken a note about. So thanks, Shahid, for giving this opportunity to steal others' idea. Thank you.
Got it. Cool. Thank you, Arvind. Thank you, Anushree. I think this was the kind of conversation that our audience really needed tonight. And before we close, just for the audience, I want to announce that the hiring readiness report that we had promised will be sent to you by tomorrow. It's designed to help you access the vulnerabilities in your current hiring process and prioritize what to fix first.
Awesome.
webinar recording would be sent to you in 2 to 3 days. You can share it with the colleagues that could not join today, and you'll also receive a digital certificate. So definitely you can show off your contribution on the recruitment season. Tag Zappy Hire while you do so, and network with us. As Anusri said, we'd love to interact with all your thoughts and you could share. And thank you all for being here. It was really great catching up with all of you. And
Thank you once again.
Thank you, Arvind. Thank you, Anusri.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you all. Bye.
Have a nice evening. Bye bye.
Wish you the same. Thank you.